Okay, good evening everybody, welcome to the Eastleigh Town Council full council meeting on the 19th of November. Before we begin, I'll just remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded in accordance with the Council's recordings and meetings policy. A recording of the meeting will be uploaded to the Council's website in due course. If any member of the public does not wish to be filmed, although there aren't any there, so I'll skip. Respectful conduct is expected at all times. Disruptive behaviour will not be tolerated. The Chair may intervene or ask individuals to leave the meeting to maintain order. Councillors, by attending this meeting tonight, you've decided you abide by Section 25 of the Localism Act 2011 and are attending this meeting with open minds to hear and participate in debate for motions brought. You agree to cast your votes in a reasoned and considered manner. Should any councillor therefore believe they are unable to do so or wish to ensure transparency of commitments to other bodies, I would recommend they declare them when invited to do so. First item on the agenda tonight, apologies for absence. To receive and resolve to approve apologies for absence.
Okay, so we have received apologies from Councillor O'Neill, she is away on charity work. We have received apologies for Councillor Phillips, he is also away on charity work. We have Councillor Bicknell for work purposes, Councillor Park for charity work, Councillor Constable for work, and Councillor Ashton is on holiday.
Thank you. Are we happy to, is there a proposal to approve those apologies? Councillor Clifton, a seconder. Councillor Johnson, all those in favour of approving? That's everybody, thank you. I forgot to add my little bit about, while we're here, if there are no objections, there is a little item that I would like to add to the agenda. It's regarding local government reorganisation, because we got an update on that today. So if there are no objections, I will add that onto the meeting, probably in the committee minutes and motions from councillor section. I presume no one objects to that. It's just a small update, that's all. Okay, I'll add that on. Now over to register of interest and dispensation. To receive any declarations of interest or dispensations regarding any items on the agenda. Does anyone have any to add? Nope, we'll move on. Minutes of the last meeting. To receive and approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of September 2025. Any comments? Councillor Campbell.
Would it be possible to just have a slight amendment to the minutes in relation to the two items that related to the allotments, just to clarify that myself and Councillor Johnson, we didn't take part in the discussions at all and we didn't vote.
We can, I think we can add that in there, can't we?
It just says that we declared an interest,
yeah.
It doesn't say that we didn't take part and we didn't vote, which we didn't.
Yeah, we can amend the declaration of interest section to say that you therefore didn't take part and therefore didn't vote.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Anything else with that change in mind? Now is the proposal for those minutes then with that change? Councillor Spencer, seconder. Councillor Clifton, all those in favour? That's everybody, thank you. Next item, public participation. The meeting will be adjourned for 20 minutes, 5 minutes per speaker to allow members of the public to make representations. If there aren't any here, are there any councillor comments or questions at this stage? So Councillor Marks first. Will be laid shortly. This is a big step and I'm looking forward to seeing what the new merged council can achieve next year. I'd like to extend an invitation to all officers and councillors to the Christmas lights switch on at North Stoneham Park, which I'm running in my capacity as chair of the North Stoneham Community Group. It's on the 29th of November from 5 till 7 and the lights are going on at 6:30. We're hoping it'll be another great event. Hopefully it'll be dry and not too cold like last year. But there'll be free food and entertainment, and I'll be honest, I'll be quite relieved when I don't have to talk about Christmas anymore because I've been doing it since May. With the colder weather arriving, it's a good moment to remind everyone about the new Warm Hub sessions here at Cableworks. The first one's on the 1st of December. Please come along if you can. I won't be able to make the launch, I'm going on holiday on Friday for a week, but I am hoping to attend a future session. And thank you to the councillors and officers who have been out delivering leaflets to help spread the word. And then finally, as this is our last full council meeting before Christmas, I'll take the chance to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2026. And I hope you enjoy a bit of a break over the festive season. Thank you. And then next item, Hampshire County Council and Borough Council update. To receive an update from Hampshire County Councillors on matters relating to the Town Council. Councillor Irish, as the only one here, are you, do you have an update?
Not really. We've got Have there been improvements to the bus parking in Chester Avenue for Bartlett College? It's been a bit controversial because no one seems to know who owns the land there, but I think the council are going to put some extra bus spaces in, so that's going to be useful. Apart from that, not an awful lot. It's all local government reorganisation again. Every meeting we go to seems to be local government reorganisation. I'm sure it'll be the same next Thursday at the council.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Irish about HCC? No. Okay. Next is to receive an update from the Borough Council, councillors and ELAC members on matters relating to the Town Council. Who wants to do that? Councillor Spencer, maybe?
Yeah, I can do that. Again, not a huge amount to update people on, other than the new library manager, as we know about, who's got to work and is doing things like chasing down lots of pots of developers' contributions, which has been very good. So we've had a bit more money that we didn't really know about to spend on projects around the town, which is quite positive. The big thing that you might have seen from the last ELAC meeting was the living pillars that will be going into Eastleigh Town Centre. So essentially plants that will wind up and climb along pillars in the town centre, which should look really good. There's some work going on for a mural in the little alleyway next to Costa on High Street, which is quite grim and dank at the minute, so it'd be nice to brighten that up a bit. Some money went on to funding Friday night football again for next year, for the next 3 years, sorry, which is very positive. And then just lots of other smaller projects to fix things that are broken and improve town centre.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, we'll move on. And I've just realised we did have it on the agenda to receive an update on the local government reorganisation. It was already there and we forgot. So the news that came through today, let me get my inbox up, just bear with me, wrong one. Oh, of course that won't open, right, here we go. The government have announced that the consultation on local government reorganisation in Hampshire is live. It will run until the 11th of January. The government is asking for feedback on all options that were submitted in September, including EBC's preferred option, which would see Eastleigh joining with all of Southampton and the waterside area of New Forest and some of the smaller parishes in the southern Test Valley. The borough, this communication from, strongly encourage all parish and town councils in the borough to respond to the survey. Just reading that there, just give me a second. That is it, to be perfectly honest. We had a quick look at the survey this evening and you can respond to it on behalf of a local authority. So I think it is sensible for us to make a response. We haven't seen it as it's only come out today, so I don't think it would be fair for us to do one tonight. So I wonder if we could perhaps delegate it to Policy and Finance to have a look at and respond on our behalf, but I'm happy to open that to a debate. Councillor Clifton, you have a question or comment?
It was a question almost half answered, which was that surely the response needs to be agreed by council,
Yeah.
but we don't have a meeting before
No.
we close the
Yeah.
consultation.
I mean, we can either call a meeting or we can recommend that it goes to Policy and Finance for them to make that decision, but there are options really.
I don't mind it coming to Policy and Finance, provided that council is happy with that. I don't know, maybe we can resolve that we delegate it to Policy and Finance. But I think council needs to be happy that that's happening.
Yeah. Any other comments or Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard on the news just now where the Isle of Wight is being become separate. They're actually
That's the option in all of them, I think.
yeah.
In terms of a response, so it's important that we provide a response, I think, which I hope everyone would agree. How do we want to do it? Do we want to call another meeting, or are we happy to get delegated to Policy and Finance? Are there any thoughts on that? Councillor Spencer.
Seems like it could be a delegated decision. I'm not on that committee, but I'd like to provide some feedback. So I guess anyone who wants to do that can pass it on to the councillors who are on that committee and read it.
Yeah, point of process, I think it would be better any feedback goes to the chair of that committee, and they will represent it out in the conversations.
Okay, sorry, Councillor
I
Gibbs.
think if any councillor wants to make a contribution, they should be allowed to, so it shouldn't be excluded from the process.
No, absolutely. Does anyone want to make a proposal, Councillor Clifton, or a
I'm
comment?
just going to add, just so that people are aware, the Policy and Finance Committee meeting is on the 10th of December, and there's nothing to prevent you from attending, so you may not be able to participate as a full committee member, but you could make a point in the public participation section at the start of the meeting if you felt that, for whatever reason, you couldn't share it directly with me, Mr. Chair.
I'll make a proposal then that we delegate the response to the Policy and Finance Committee. Is there a second for that proposal? Councillor Shepherd. Are there any other comments before we take a vote on that? No, okay, all those in favour of that? Councillor Irish, is that a yes? I think that's everybody then, yeah. Thank you, that carries.
We can do individual responses.
Sorry? Oh yeah, yeah. Feel free to add that point.
You can, so when we looked at it earlier, you can answer as an individual and then you can answer as an organisation. So should any councillor wish to also put their individual resident response in as well, that's something that you can do.
And yeah, I would encourage you to do so, I would. Next one, I've probably covered that already, but to receive an update on the community governance reorganisation and the plan to merge the two parish councils. So it has been agreed now at Eastleigh Borough Council. We got an update this week, didn't we, to confirm that, and that the reorganisation order is being drafted as we speak. I think it's due to be laid by the end of this month, and I think it's from the 1st of April, something like that, isn't it, that the new council will be into being, effectively.
Yes, the reorganisation order will say that as of the 1st of April 2026, and the election is confirmed as the 7th of May 2026.
Okay. Are there any questions on any of that? No? Okay, I'll move on. Now to receive the committee minutes and motions from councillors. So to receive and note the minutes of the Asset and Open Spaces Committee meeting on the 15th of October 2025. So we are receiving and noting. Noted. Oh, Councillor Spencer.
Comment on it. I'm pretty sure I gave apologies for that meeting, couldn't attend. I don't think it's good still.
Okay, we'll double check that. We can, if we need to change the minutes for that one, we can at the next asset meeting, but we'll check that, thank you. To note the rescheduling of the next Asset and Open Spaces Committee meeting from the 12th of November to the 2nd of December to enable a complete budget report to be presented. So that one is noted. To receive and note the minutes of the Policy and Finance Committee meeting of the 22nd of October 2025. Noted that one. To receive and approve the budget assumptions 26-27 as proposed by the Policy and Finance Committee on the 22nd of October 2025. Councillor Clifton, do you want to say anything as the chair of that committee on that, or
Sorry, remind me, what was the proposal?
the budget assumptions that
I've done everything correctly.
no?
Just thank you to the officers for updating and reflecting the discussion we had at the committee.
Yeah.
I think they actively reflect what we wanted to put forward.
Councillor Campbell.
I just wanted to ask about one of the budget assumptions, item number 10, which is the assumption that we're going to expand the greening campaign as per the strategic plan. And I'm not aware that we've actually agreed that. And you might remember at the a month ago at this meeting, I did sort of query about when we were discussing the strategic plan, and I just raised some queries about the greening campaign. So I would just like some discussion or some why has the assumption been made that we will, I mean I'm using it in a literal way obviously, but why has the assumption been made that we will expand the greening campaign?
Can you remember what we discussed at that meeting? I can't remember.
The strategic plan actually modifies the greening campaign, so it takes it away from the structured greening campaign and follows more of the lines that the councillors over the last year have actually been saying they would rather see the that it was involved more with the projects and the elements of that were important to Eastleigh and the Eastleigh residents. It wasn't anything that was not agreed to go forward at the meeting. It was agreed in principle along with the other strategic plan projects to be costed, and therefore the assumption is that it will be included in the costing exercise, which ultimately council will then agree or disagree with when they see how much and how that impacts.
Okay, then I have to say that's the first time I've heard any suggestion, and I welcome it, absolutely, that we're moving away from the official greening campaign, as in the tree and the plan, right?
It does only last for 12 months, so it ends in January, because that's when our 12 months ends, effectively. That is what we signed up to. You follow the greening campaign plan for 12 months, and at the end of that, you do what you want to do, effectively.
Okay.
I mean, it's important that this is just a budget assumption for now, and as the clerk has said, that'll be, we're coming up with costings and ideas for things that we can then look at when we come to budgeting. Do we want that in there? Do we want to expand that? Do we want to make that better? Or I think
I mean, I have no issue if you're saying to me that we're assuming that we're going to be wanting to do more green things.
Mhm.
I don't have any
I didn't
issue
think you
with
would.
that, and I'm happy for that to be in there. I just want to make it very clear that I personally wouldn't agree to an expansion of what we have been doing thus far. I think that hasn't been the most successful thing that we've ever done, although I would like to stress that I know how much work has been put into it by officers. I just think the nature of the campaign hasn't yet maybe worked in our environment as much as it could. So thank you for the clarification.
Take an action and recirculate out the breakdown on the greening going forward, so that you get sight of that before any other decisions need to be made.
Any other comments? No? Okay, so this was to receive and approve the budget assumptions, so I'll propose that we approve the budget assumptions as proposed by the Policy and Finance Committee. Is there a second for that? Councillor Clifton, all those in favour? Yes, everybody, thank you. Next item, to discuss bus services in the Town Council area and consider any action or comment as appropriate. So this was Councillor O'Neill who requested that this was on future agendas. Unfortunately, Councillor O'Neill is not here this evening, but did Councillor O'Neill provide anything in advance that she would like to discuss, or us to discuss?
No, I am aware that Councillor O'Neill is very concerned about any bus services that are running between Eastleigh and Winchester. I'm also aware that she's concerned about a reduction and lack of service that runs up and down Twyford Road. When I put it on the agenda, I wasn't aware that she wasn't at the meeting. I have done some research in the background and spoken to quite a few people. There are improvements being made to the bus services in Eastleigh, but they're not amendments to service. So this week I was notified that the Blue Star line, Route 1, which is now running every 10 minutes between Eastleigh and Southampton, has received part of the grant that Hampshire County Council has been handing out, and Blue Star Route 2, which now runs on a Sunday every 2 minutes. But unfortunately, neither of those go on the route that Councillor O'Neill has her priorities or feels that we are missing that service. There has been a lot of conversation around the Chandler's Ford Route 44 bus, which is a circular route, which currently is partly funded by Chandler's Ford Parish Council and Hampshire County Council. Hampshire County Council have withdrawn their funding from it, and there is a conversation as to whether or not it actually is a valid service to run forward. So what I would ask is that whilst it's on the agenda as per Councillor O'Neill, we actually work out what it is that we want to actually achieve with buses, because there's a lot of movements that are happening, and unless we're willing to put a lot of money behind a service, there's not a lot we can do.
Are there any comments?
So basically, we will just carry forward this agenda item until we have more information.
Councillor Barrett?
It's mainly a query. Is there a direct route from Eastleigh to Winchester? Or
No.
do you have to change?
There was, and that was one of the ones that was cut recently.
Yeah, because I know my neighbours say you've got to go into Southampton to get the bus up or somewhere. Yeah? So
Or Chandler's Ford, you can go up to Chandler's
from
Ford.
where?
From Chinese Ford.
Chandler's Ford, you've got to get a bus to Chandler's Ford
Leicester.
and then change and get a bus. So there's no direct bus from
Not
the bus
anymore,
station route through Eastleigh.
There is a direct train service.
I know that. I've got a bus pass. I don't have to pay on the bus. I have to pay on the train. That's just a inquiry. I think we should have a bus route that starts at the bus stop and goes to Winchester.
Any other comments? Councillor Clifton?
Just a kind of point of information is that transport will be part of the jurisdiction of the new mayor that's going to be elected next May. So hopefully, depending on who the person is that wins that election, might be able to do something more helpful in terms of what's happening with buses locally. But also depends on who's going to win the election.
Yeah. Anything else before we move on? No, okay. Our next item, to note current vacancy on council committees and approve appointments to fill these committees. So we've got 2 new councillors with us who would like to join some committees. So we have 1 space on personnel, there is 1 space on policy and finance, and there is 1 space on planning. Have I got that correct? Yes. Oh, sorry. Here's me.
It's not very clear, is it?
Isn't it?
That's fine.
So obviously got 1 space on 3 committees. So I am happy to take proposals for any councillor to join any of those committees. Councillor Gibbs?
I would like to go on to planning, possibly.
Okay. There's a proposal for Councillor Gibbs. Councillor Farahadajan, do you have a...
No, that was for which committee I was interested in.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Gibbs would like to go on to planning. Is there a seconder for that one? Councillor Barrett. All those in favour of Councillor Gibbs on planning? Thank you. Any others? Councillor Farahadajan? Sorry, Farahadajan.
Policy and finance.
Policy and finance, okay. Is there a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. All those in favour of that one? Thank you. Carries. Any other proposals?
That's fine.
No? Okay, that's fine. That's those 2. Thank you. Where am I? Next item, to receive information regarding newsletters and council... Oh, sorry, Councillor Shepherd.
Sorry, I didn't know I could join 2 committees. So
Oh, yeah.
I would do.
Personnel as well. Okay, proposal there. Is there a seconder? Councillor Barrett. All those in favour? Thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome to it.
Okay, next item, to receive information regarding newsletter and the council's community engagement and approve how to proceed. Who am I handing over to? The deputy clerk.
Okay, so you will have all received the paper that I've sent out. The way that I'm going to do it tonight is I will go through so there's 3 proposals that I've got on there, well, 3 options, shall I say, sorry. There is option 1, so it's a town information booklet and a quarterly e-newsletter. There is option 2, which is a partnership with existing local publication, and there is option 3, which is a digital first newsletter with a targeted print distribution. So what I'm going to do is explain so my recommendation at the end of it all is option 1, which is the town information booklet and quarterly e-newsletter. I'm going to go through option 2 and option 3 and explain to you the drawbacks and the reasons why I'm not, as an officer, recommending these ones. So if we go to option 2, we have got quotes from 3 different partnership sources. We have Eastleigh Network magazine.
Bigger. Can't read it. It's very big thing. Councillor, thank you.
So we have Eastleigh Network magazine, so they deliver to 8,750 homes in South Eastleigh, which is the majority of our parish. However, it misses Brookwood in one of their tranches. So they do 2 editions and they do it every other, so they vary over them. And the second part is 6,864 deliveries in North Eastleigh. Now, North Eastleigh is Brookwood, so it does cover that section of Eastleigh Parish that we miss on through Southern, but it also does Boytwood, Albrook and Charnersford, the entirety of Charnersford. So if we wanted to target only our residents, neither option will do both. So if you were going to do them, you'd need to do both editions, or you would need to miss some residents and some circulations. The same really goes for the Borough News in terms of you won't miss any of our residents because it delivers to the entirety of the borough, but the cost effectiveness of sending it out to that many people and what message we're sending out on that, it's more of an advertisement rather than a newsletter to our residents in that circumstance. The same for Discovery magazine. Although it is a smaller area that they're publishing to, it's 12,500, they are sending it out to Fair Oak and Portney Heath as well. So that would be reasons why I don't necessarily think that is the best option for the council, and why it hasn't been my recommendation. For option 3, the reason why it's not a recommendation for me is because option 3 is actually covered in option 1. So hopefully you've all read it. Option 1 is for us to send out one booklet every 4 years, so every term of councillors. In that booklet we would send out information about us as a council, what we do, our councillors, the offices, how to contact us, where we are, all that information, and also in that area give them an option. So if they are not someone who is digital, who is online, that is how they can contact us. They can call us and we can put them on a list where when we then create our digital e-newsletters quarterly, we will know they do not access digital information, therefore we have allowed an amount for printed copies to be sent out. So option 1 really is a way where in first instance we make contact with all of our residents, we send it all out, and then those who are not digitally inept can access us. That's the wrong word, isn't it? As I said, it'll be
digitally minded.
Digitally minded can contact us, and they know how to get those printed copies. But it also means that those who can access digital networks can, and therefore we remain in our area where we are sustainable, we are matching all affordability, and we are sticking to our aims as a council. That is my thoughts on that, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Deputy Clerk or comments? Councillor Marks.
Basically, I just want to say thank you very much, because it's something that I've been on about a newsletter since 2022-23, and even with that start up of our budget, we've always had a section for a newsletter. So this was really interesting and worthwhile of all the work that you've achieved. And I thank you for that. The only thing about, I think we're a wee bit late, because basically, I'm not sure when we would be able to do this, where it's pointless doing it for this term of this council. The only thing that you could have, and maybe I'm pre-election publicity, for if we put a newsletter out now, then it'll show all of the councillors here, especially the ones who want to rerun in the May elections. So that aside, I think maybe it's just a bit too late, but it's great that we have it on board and that we'll agree to this for the new council that comes on board. But I do have to express my thanks to you for doing this. It's been a long time.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do we have a proposal? Councillor Mark.
Option 1.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Is that a question or a second? Second. Councillor
Mm.
Shepherd. Any other comments before we... Councillor Clifton?
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't support option 1, primarily because it relies on councils and volunteers to deliver it, and it's not going to happen in the first instance. But secondly, as Councillor Marks has quite aptly pointed out, we're coming to the end of this term, and I think signing up the next term of councillors to deliver something before they've even been elected is a little unfair. So, you know, even if we did think that these councillors could deliver it, we may not be the ones who actually may deliver it. So I don't think it's a reasonable or fair decision to make. I much prefer option 3, perhaps with a combination of option 2. I think the Eastleigh Network magazine has huge potential to cover the vast majority of the town. I do wonder if we really have frequently changing enough news to have to worry about the fact that it might be going out in 2 separate editions. If it happens to cover Chandler's Ford, I mean, it just helps to demonstrate, to share what we're doing with a broader audience. It might also help us to promote some of the things that we're doing in terms of events to a broader audience who will come to the town, visit the town. We probably visit the town anyway, so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that it covers Chandler's Ford. I just feel like it's a more sustainable option to use an organisation that already has a delivery network and to pay them to do it for us instead of us trying to do it through volunteers.
Councillor Shepherd.
Just working on Councillor's Clifton idea. Maybe we don't deliver to every house. Is there places we can have it where it can be collected, strategically placed? So when people are going to shops or information centres, it can be something that you can pick up from there. It is going to be there for years.
I did like the idea that the booklet in option 1 would be made available in like main community areas, doctors, libraries, things like that. It also made me wonder how much we've explored if Eastleigh Library could actually be offering more information around the town council that might be in a more accessible place than the town council offices, in the sense that people know where it is and will see it, whereas at the moment if they don't know about the town council, they're going to try and find their offices. So that might be a useful kind of segue. The only other thing is that there was a mention of the Boywood electronic notice boards, which I thought was an idea that we liked, that we would actually be spreading throughout the rest of the town as well. Obviously that needs exploring anyway, but I quite like that idea as well. But I'm sorry, that isn't a very cohesive proposal. It doesn't really fit with the 3 options that have been presented by the officer. But yeah.
I mean, you could make a counter proposal, or anyone can, to defer this decision for the new council to make, but would you like to change your proposal, Councillor Marks, or are you happy with that proposal?
I'm quite happy with option 1 because basically my point's always been that I think that every resident, every household should know about the town council.
I agree.
And with option 2 and option 3, I don't think that will cover that. And that's one reason why this one-off that we, once every 4 years, we get a town council booklet, I think would be the best way forward. With regards to deliveries, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I also, and I didn't say it, the volunteers of the council to basically do it, but Handball actually have a great structure of employing students that are reliable and to basically deliver all their leaflets. And so, I know Hedge End's got it online, but they also use students in some cases to deliver. And I think that is a good possibility, because I think we've already used, I think, a student already to deliver notification about cable works around this area. And I think very confident, and basically, you know, I think was it 1,000 leaflets went out, and quite a reasonable rate actually. So I do agree with you with regards to
rural mail is not a massive cost to the council if you think it's going to be worth a while. I like the principle of getting volunteers to deliver them and students, but that's going to be an awful drag on office time that could be quite easily replaced. In an ideal world, if we had a network built up where we could call some people to deliver it, we could do that, but I don't think it's really worthwhile while doing it when there are reasonably cost-effective ways to get stuff out otherwise. The one thing that hasn't been brought up is, I think, because we're a relatively new council, we've still got an awful lot of work to do to increase our brand so people know what we do and who we are, particularly with EBC going. So I actually kind of think that one paper booklet per term isn't enough, and we need to still be looking at pretty regularly, going to Network magazine, going to Borough News, going to everyone else over the next few years, and putting our stuff in there as well. I don't think just rely on option one as a singular result here. So yeah, like Councillor Clifton, I'm not really happy with any proposals as they are right now. I think there's some work that needs to be done.
Do we still want to vote, or would we like some more time to go away and maybe add some things to the option one? How would you like a vote still, Councillor Marks? It was your motion.
Sorry, Chair, yes I would, because it's been since 2022-23 that this newsletter has basically been, on an agenda, and I think it's really up to us to, at least for the new council that's going to be in May, that they'll be able to, be running with a booklet showing who they are and what they're hoping to achieve. So I'm aiming that we propose option one.
Okay, so that was proposed and seconded, and we'll take a vote on that. All those in favour of option one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those against option one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Option one it is then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that everybody voting? I didn't miss anyone. No. Okay, that carries. Thank you. Next. Sorry, I lost my agenda. Next item is community asset transfer to receive a motion proposing adoption of all special expenses and the associated services. Is that the clerk to introduce or the deputy?
It's me, but it came from a request by a member of the Policy and Finance Committee, Councillor Constable, that this was put on tonight's agenda with a motion that the council should consider adopting all of the special expenses. The figures that you have in front of you are obviously the ones that we know for this year. So those are the actual special expenses that have been charged in our area by Eastleigh Borough Council. So that's what our residents are paying them to deliver the services that are our services, basically. And it was Councillor Constable who wished the council to consider adopting all of them.
And it's important to state that EBC have confirmed that if we agree to do this, they will not charge them, so there'll be no double taxation. That figure will come, or the equivalent figure will come off the EBC portion of the bill, and it will be simply moved from them across to us. So, subject to other things that we may choose to increase or decrease, the residents won't be paying any different. It'll be just moving from one pot to the other. Is that correct?
Yes, I will put a caveat on there, which is it's not quite as simple as saying we want them, therefore you must give them to us, but an indication from the council saying that they wish to take responsibility for bus shelters. So of that list, the area that hasn't been requested are bus shelters, or requested to date would be bus shelters, public toilets, community safety. Countryside sites I have done some more research into, and they are unable to be transferred across, and there is a conversation as to whether or not they will then appear on the special expenses for Eastleigh Town Council going forward. That's only a question. So there's only the ones, and town centre management necessarily is the other one that we haven't actually requested from EBC.
Okay, Councillor Clifton, you had your hand up?
Yes. two questions which are trying to get in my head. Sorry, I was distracted by the last thing I was trying to say. I was wondering if the clerk can say more about EBC's position on these, because I've of course in the previous meeting, but I don't know whether I can say something around their intentions with this. And my other question was around, obviously, the community governance review has been approved for merging with Boyer Wood, so the Boyer Wood special expenses are mentioned in this paper. Is that because Boyer Wood is dealing with that for now, even will form part of this council for when the special expenses are next charged?
Two answers to the last question, which is when the paper was written, the reorganisation decision hadn't been made through Eastleigh Borough Council committees. Secondly, you as a council cannot make a decision on behalf of the new council, so you couldn't agree that you wish to adopt the special expenses for Boyer Wood. The only thing that we could do is actually represent that back across to the existing Boyer Wood council and say that was the decision that was made here, would you like to make something similar, which they are currently considering. The first question is that Eastleigh Borough Council's view on special expenses. I will caveat the fact that there are many conversations taking place backwards and forwards on what the special expenses figures will be for next year, how much of it will be passed across on the 1st of April, how many assets will have actually migrated by the 1st of April. There are some very large lines. Open space, parks and recreation sites, 172,000. As you can understand, that's a large figure to just pick up and move across if, for instance, they still have the predominance of the parks. So the intent is that the assets that have been requested will land, and therefore the special expenses will be paid because they anticipate they'll either be in place by the 1st of April or soon after. There are conversations taking place regarding what town centre maintenance actually means, a confirmation of what community safety actually pays for. There was a conversation at a council meeting, I think the last council meeting for public toilets, where it was suggested that the access for all toilets in Eastleigh House was covered in the 43,905. I've had confirmation that it isn't. It's not actually costed to Eastleigh Town Council residents. So the 43,000 is simply the cost of the toilets in the bus centre, operating those. And bus shelters, £6,000 charged. I couldn't tell you which bus shelters they relate to. It's a shame Councillor Constable isn't here.
Councillor Clifton?
Sorry, there's one other thing I just thought of as well. Just to clarify, that the decision we're making isn't really about transferring social expenses, or please correct me if I'm right. My understanding is the decision that we're making tonight is whether we want to accept responsibility for these things, which means that the charges that are there would then be up to us to include in our precept, rather than them being charged as special expenses by the Borough Council going forward. So it's not really about transferring any money or anything. It's not that this is money that we will get from the Borough Council. It's that if we agree that we want to take on these additional responsibilities, it's then our responsibility to decide how much we think we need to charge for them on the precept, which does also mean that we don't necessarily have to put, let's say that we accept them all. That doesn't mean that we have to put £539,000 extra on our precept, because we might decide that actually it doesn't cost that much to cover them all, and we want to put less on the precept. So that's my understanding anyway. Looking the clerk will correct me if I've said anything incorrect.
Councillor Marks?
Sorry, Chair. I think there's too many questions with regards to
I think
this,
so.
and I think we can't actually pass any motion with regards to it until we get the answers. So I'm saying that, and unfortunately, Councillor Constable's not here to give us, the reason why he's put this motion forward. So unfortunately, I'm against that motion.
I think we need to defer potentially this motion and take it as part of the January meeting where we'll be agreeing any potential budget, and I think it will have to, or for me, I think it needs to come as part of that. Are there any other comments? Councillor Campbell?
I suppose just a point of clarification around these. So I take the point that Councillor Clifton's making about the principle of do we want to take them on as sort of entities. I guess the one thing I still can't quite get my head around with all of this, so, you know, that's the sort of indicative costs that EBC are saying they're attributing to those special expenses. But obviously the Borough Council is, when they're looking at their costings and things, they have a very large team, you know, all the equipment, etc., which moves around and covers, you know, all aspects of the borough. What I don't believe what I've seen is sort of from our perspective. So I take your point that we may not wish to charge this because we think we can do it cheaper, but where's the evidence for that? Where's that bit of work? Because, I mean, just a simple one like bus shelters, well, my experience from the borough days, bus shelters are really, really expensive to maintain because they get vandalised quite a lot. So that to me seems like a really low figure.
But that figure is what they've charged the residents for this year, so it might have cost more than that, but that's the charge that they levied on our residents to cover that. So
Yeah.
they could have needed to top that up, but that's
Exactly.
what they charged.
But before I would be happy
Yeah.
to say, yes, let's take all that on, because we're doing this on behalf of our residents who ultimately are going to have to pay for this one way or the other, is to have some idea of actually what it is really going to cost.
Yeah. And that's what the officers are currently doing as part of the budget setting, is doing all these explorative works, aren't you, to try and work out what things are going to cost to run.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything?
Yes, I mean, for the areas that the councillors in principle agreed that we're taking across, that's exactly what we're doing. So we have almost a finalised figure as to what, if they remained with EBC, they would charge our residents, and therefore we've been looking at so let's take green maintenance. Yeah, we looked at the price that EBC would charge if they carried on maintaining it. We owned it and we bought back services. The price if we went out to an external third party, and the price that we would charge if we were to structure up that entire team with all the PPE. We're down to gloves and trowels, Tina, Councillor Campbell, sorry, and how much that works out. And that's the work that's being prepared for the Asset Committee, and that's why the Asset Committee had to be moved back, because actually when you look at it, it's a ginormous piece of work. But we're nearly there.
Councillor Clifton?
I think perhaps some helpful context from what I recall the conversation we had at Policy and Finance, which is where Councillor Constable's request came from as well, was essentially most of the things that are on there we've already agreed as a council we're going to take on as part of the asset transfers. It's just the exceptions are the ones that the clerk mentioned earlier: public toilets, the countryside sites, and some of those open spaces, potentially town centre management. And so council, the view of the committee was generally in support of we'll just take the lot, but Councillor Constable was keen that the full council had a view of actually do want to take on the public toilets, the countryside sites, the town centre maintenance lines that were in here. So that's perhaps gives a little bit more context from that perspective, because I think the other thing that's worth bearing in mind is that those are the figures that EBC charges the town for maintaining some of these things or providing these services. But in the discussions we've been having with EBC, it's not always clear that those figures actually directly relate to how much it actually costs EBC to provide those services, which could go either way. But we do know from our own practical experience that when we took on this building, cable works, we have been able to run it at a lower cost, and we brought in some possible income now to cover it, compared to what was being charged as special expenses to the residents beforehand. So we've got some experience of that. Obviously that's just we can't use that for everything. But that is, from what I recall, essentially why it was being brought in. But totally accept that we probably do need a bit more information to be able to make that decision.
And following on from that, it's a allocation of officer time. So to actually go down the rabbit hole of bush shelters, for instance, it's not unusual for parishes to towns to look after their bush shelters. When I previously looked after bush shelters, the £250 a quarter that was charged on cleaning them was replaced by a local window cleaner who did them for £15 per shelter every 2 weeks. So actually you can make quite a bit of a difference if you change it around. So cleaned once every quarter or cleaned every fortnight, I know which one the residents preferred. And the cost of any broken glass and etc. was replaced on insurance. So they're all things that there are options that are available to us, but it's whether or not, and I think this is where Councillor Constable was coming, which is we aren't costing out things that you as a council haven't indicated that you would like to look at taking over. We've got enough work to do to actually simply give you reasoned and considered information on everything else that's on that list, and therefore if you do want to look at the rest of them, we need an indication from you to say, in principle, we're interested in that. Obviously the final decision comes when you see the budget.
Okay. Does that clarify things slightly? Councillor Knight?
Basically, I understand what you're saying, and we haven't got enough staff to basically go through all of what has been presented to us here. But I do think, with experience that we've had previously, the figures that we've got here, I don't trust, I've got to be quite honest. And that's my problem. And that's why, at this present time, I can't agree to the motion proposing this adoption of special expenses.
I understand that, but I think we need to almost pretend that those figures aren't there, and what we need to agree is, in principle, those items, so that if we, for example, say tonight, actually we would like to have a look at bush shelters, that is a clear steer to the clerk that she needs to add bush shelters to the list. So we almost need to forget that right-hand column, I think. The left-hand column, are we interested in all of those things? If we are, then the clerk and the officer team have got more work to do, and we need to give them that indication tonight. If there's things on there that we're not interested in right now, then we need to make that clear now as well, so that the officers know not to do that bit of work. Am I correct in that's sort of what you need from us this evening, that sort of steer? It doesn't matter what the figures are.
Yeah, and the figures will change anyway. They've changed every year. But yes, it's just whether or not the areas that we haven't already agreed in principle, you wish to add the other ones to it.
Okay. Councillor Barrett?
What happens to the items we don't agree on? Where do they stay? When Eastleigh Borough Council, they go to the new council?
So there's no definitive answer to that, which is that for the time being, any services that we don't draw down or take back from Eastleigh Borough Council will remain with Eastleigh Borough Council.
So when Eastleigh Borough Council goes, it remains with the new council, which covers a bigger area and one of this in mind of Eastleigh.
When Eastleigh Borough Council and the Unitary Authority is made, there may be a larger conversation about delivery of parish services on behalf of parish areas, and there may be a decision at that point that's different to a borough council delivering services. But if they do retain them, your point is correct, which is there will be services to a town parish area in a larger unitary setting.
Which has a bigger area to consider and may put priority on other areas outside of Eastleigh Town Council, which means these areas that we don't accept will become possibly neglected. Where if they're under our auspice, we can make sure they're not. I think that's part of the reason why the councils, or the parish councils and this town council are taking on these things, to ensure that the money that goes to Eastleigh Borough comes to us and we deal with it rather than the money going to the, what's it called again? Unitary Council, which has a bigger area to look after and may not think so much about Eastleigh Town's little area, and therefore we may not get the same priority.
I think Councillor Barrett makes a good point, and that if these are being charged as a special expense already, then they are a parish service.
That's right.
So if I was a unitary authority taking over and I was doing parish services, I'd either get rid or stop doing them.
That's right.
Because I've got bigger fish to fry, quite frankly. Councillor Marks?
I'm ever so sorry, Councillor Barrett, but basically the unitary is going to be open to elections just the same as parish councils. So where you're saying that this big bad wolf, the unitary, that basically they could possibly get rid of all of this,
They might not.
concentrate on Eastleigh, then I have to disagree with that, because all of them will be under election rules.
Of course, but the members will cover a vast area, and not all those members on the committee will be concerned about Eastleigh Town Council, where we are. So you may have one or two members who come from Eastleigh, and they're coming from all over the place, and they could be outvoted. So that's my argument against that point.
Councillor Clifton?
Also, the risk of going into even further political discussion, the reality is that unitary councils have far bigger statutory duties to deliver and diminishing funds to do it with. So regardless of whether the individual elected members think that Eastleigh is important enough to keep these things going or not, the realities of the budget are probably going to bite, and they're likely to be neglected even if members don't want to neglect them.
I think that's open to debate.
I think it is, yes. Like I
Councillor
said,
Clifton.
it's potentially political. But we've got an opportunity here to make a decision to prevent that happening. So that we
In
have
principle,
to
it's important to
yeah.
add. We're not saying we are taking bush shelters. We are saying, in principle, we need the officers to go with a steer to at least look at it and bring something to us with the budget setting procedure. Councillor Campbell?
Well, on that basis, and I think going back to what we said our values are, then I certainly think public toilets should be, we should be looking at public toilets, because, you know, how can we be a caring council if we don't actually provide toilets for our residents, and similarly bus shelters and things like that. So I think on that basis, all of those things I think would fall between under what we were saying our values are as a council, and therefore we should at least in principle be looking at them, so that when we come to that meeting we've got all the information and we're not sort of saying, oh, we can't make a decision because we haven't got the information. So sorry Ruth.
Does anyone have a proposal for a vote? I think we've had quite a bit of discussion now. Does anyone have anything to propose? Councillor Clifton?
Can I propose that in principle we want to explore the opportunity of adopting all of the services that currently fall under special expenses, with a view to putting a fuller proposal to council when that's ready, setting out what we think that impact will have in terms of our precept as well as special expenses for the farm.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Barrett, are you clear on that, officers? Yeah. Any other discussion before we vote on that?
Sorry, could you just repeat your...
Probably not, no. That in principle we explore what would be involved in taking on all of the services that are currently charged for under special expenses, with a fuller proposal to come to council when it's ready, setting out the impact for the precept and thus the special expenses for the borough as well.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favour of that proposal?
I've got a second now.
Yeah, we did second. Councillor Barrett seconded it. Okay, that is everybody. Thank you.
I've got your back.
Where's my agenda gone? Here we go. We're nearly there. Next item, public realm assets. To receive an update on public realm assets, CCTV with associated capital budget contingency to be approved. Who is taking this one, Clark?
This is me, yes. So I'm very pleased to be able to bring this out into the light, so to speak. There's been a lot of conversations that have taken place in locked behind doors, confidential sessions, etc. As I've put in my paper, it's been a true partnership approach between Eastleigh Borough Council, Eastleigh Town Council, Eastleigh Bid and Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police, not least the Office of the Police Crime Commissioner. So, we have identified and agreed the key location of replacement CCTV cameras. The focus is on the town centre, so there are some cameras on poles that are outside of the town centre. They don't necessarily work and they don't necessarily provide any value to the system. The identification of the locations has been done predominantly by our partners in the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police based on the effectiveness of the CCTV cameras. We've scoped out the operational requirements for cameras, so in other words, which ones needs to look at a fixed point and not look anywhere else, which ones we need to be able to move and zoom in and follow people as they, nighttime economy for instance, as they walk home, to ensure that we can make sure that people are leaving the town centre or even entering the town centre safely and securely. We've looked at the costings and the potential for future additions, so we have scoped out a fully scalable system, so the additions of cameras is possible. It's not a complete redo of the whole system to simply put one more camera on a pole. We have scoped out the full capital cost of implementing the new camera system, and have agreed in principle that the existing CCTV will remain in operation until the new system is commissioned, with an intent that the team that go up the poles to take down the old camera will put the new one up in the same manoeuvre. The fund of £50,000 provided by the Office of the Police Crime Commissioner is sufficient, subject to nothing being found that is unknown. And we are looking at refibering the links between the camera poles, so pulling through ducting. The cost, if there is an issue with ducting, for instance, would be around £20,000. In an effort to maintain a sufficient budget, but not a budget that would encourage anybody to get excited about what they can spend it on, the proposal is that Eastleigh Borough Council will find £10,000 worth of contingency, and Eastleigh Town Council will match that with £10,000 of the contingency, and that contingency will only be permitted via the steering group. So the officers from EBC are not simply going out and spending the money because they've got it. They have to bring it back as to things that have been discovered in the process. There's an illustration of where we could find the money. We have already £5,000 in the public realm, voluntary upkeep. I have put £5,000 return budget for crossing patrol, but I'm reliably informed by my deputy clerk that actually that was going in reserves, but there is other excess that I can find. So I would propose that should the council agree to the proposal, then it's passed to the Policy and Finance Committee to agree the virements that are required to put that £10,000 contingency in place.
Thank you. Can I just say at this point a big thank you to the clerk, because she has done an immense amount of work on this in the background, banging a lot of heads together to try and get somewhere with this, and it is very much appreciated because I know it is a lot of stress. So thank you. Comments or questions? Councillor Clifton.
This is a general open question, doesn't need to be answered right now, but is it possible to see a map of where the current cameras are and where the proposed cameras are?
Yes. The current map of CCTV is on the Eastleigh Borough Council website, and has been out there in the public domain. Once we actually have confirmed with the company that those are the cameras and that's where they'll go, we will receive a new map of what the cameras are. So I can show you, I can provide the council with a location, as in a map with circles drawn around it. I was waiting to find out which of the locations would have a pan tilt zoom camera and which one would have a fixed distance camera. We also need to, our next steps on, we also need to look at the recording retention ratio, as in, is it a high def recording, is it 4K, is it 8K, depending on where we need to go. So if you want to zoom, the cameras have the capacity, but if you want to zoom in, you need to have a higher upload ratio, so there's a costings on that. So it's a conversation of a lot of moving parts, but the actual circles on a map, we have that in place, and I can share that with council if you would like me to.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Anyone got a proposal? Councillor Marks.
I accept basically 10,000 pound as part of the scheme.
So that's the 10,000 contingency and passing the policy and finance for them to agree where
Thank you.
the moves are.
Thank you.
Can I add that little bit?
Thank you.
There's a proposal from Councillor Marks. Is there a seconder? Councillor Clifton. All those in favour? Thank you. Can you minute your thanks, please? It has been a lot of work.
Thanks from council, not thanks to the
Yes,
party.
yes. There's been a lot of work at really the wrong time based on everything else that's happening. That's it. Date of the next meeting.
I'm sorry, Chair. This is something I should have brought up beforehand, and I apologise for that. But I understand that Councillor Galvin, I was going to say, basically, Johnson, thank you, attended an airport, Southampton Airport Consultative Committee meeting on the 4th of October, or the 14th of October, and as our representative, then I would have expected that we'd have an update with regards to it. So can I ask that it goes on the next agenda, please?
We can sort that. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll
Is that okay?
I'll send you the minutes.
Well, that's most kind, but
That's
I
okay.
think possibly there before council.
We can put it on a future agenda for whenever Councillor Johnson attends one, that he gives a little update on what was discussed, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Go
you
on.
for that.
Yes, on the airport consultative, I used to be on that from Hampshire County Council, but now Hampshire County Council don't send anybody.
Okay.
So Councillor Nolan and myself are no longer on the airport consultative.
Okay. Thank you. Date of the next meeting, to review the date of the next scheduled meeting of 14th of January 2026, eh? That's the meeting closed, 8:16. Thank you.
Thank you.